Hey everyone, this is D, Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. And today I am coming to you all with a review for Fear Street Part 3, 1666, directed by Leigh Janiak, and starring Kiana Madeira, Ashley Zukerman, and Gillian Jacobs. So, the final installment of the Fear Street Trilogy is here, and story-wise we are jumping back to the mid-17th century, where we explore Sarah Fier's witch trial, the origins of Shadyside's curse, and the survivors in 1994 who are determined to put an end to it once and for all. So, I'm going to go ahead and start with the pros. Now, this gave me a whole lot that I was not expecting. So, circling back to the first film, one of my criticisms of 1994 was that it didn't take itself seriously enough, and it didn't have enough of a serious and grounded feel when it needed to. And certain aspects of it just didn't feel gritty enough or grounded enough, and that it wasn't really taking the horror aspect of it as far as it could. Well, that was absolutely not a problem here because we have gone full throttle in the opposite direction, okay? I mean, this was dark. And I mean dark in ways that even in my mind, I would have expected a typical Fear Street novel or adaptation to be. I mean the tone and the visuals and just the feeling watching this, I just don't have words for it. And I will tell you right now, there is a scene in this film. As someone who has been to church plenty of times throughout my life, it was quite the shocker to see the doors of a church open and see what was revealed inside. I would say that scene is probably up there with the 9th episode of the series Them and the climax of Sleepy Hollow as 3 of the most traumatizing church scenes I have ever seen in a film or TV show. Like, all 3 of those scenes take place in a church and it's just like, I cannot, okay? I cannot. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay. That's okay. Clearly, I'm gonna have to go ahead and watch some more reruns of The Nanny so I can find my happy place again because, whoa. This took me someplace that I was not ready to go. The style of this and the tone of this was very surprising. I mean, zero quirkiness, very dark, very tense, very sinister. And honestly, it actually kind of made me appreciate 1994 just a little bit more because it was just like, ooh, I do not envy anyone in those times, especially women. This was giving me The Crucible. It was giving me The Witch. It had so many twists and turns in the story that I don't know. I just didn't see it coming. And it was very, very effective because as a viewer, I felt very, very tense. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt weighed down. Like the oppressive nature of society and culture at that time, even me, I could just kind of feel it like as an audience member watching. And at certain points, I felt like I couldn't even breathe or couldn't blink because something bad was about to happen. It had me on pins and needles, seriously. And although I did mention that the central romance at the core of the story didn't really work for me in 1994, I will say somehow in 1666, I was able to appreciate it a lot more. And I actually appreciated the full circle kind of parallel of that relationship and really acknowledging that even for 1994, although it was still taboo, it is nothing compared to what that kind of relationship would have looked like and meant in 1666. And so then when we eventually jump back into 1994 and the latter half of the film, I feel like I was able to appreciate that a lot more. I'm not sure if that was the intention or not, but definitely after making my way through 1666, somehow it just brought it together for me. And I feel like I was able to appreciate more of the characters and that aspect of the story more than I did the first time around. So this time I was really rooting for them and I was like, please, like take this thing down, get this thing out of here. And I would say for this to be a slower moving film and without a lot of those fun, quirky, nostalgic elements that were present in the first 2 films, this really held my attention. I felt like I was still very much engaged and in it, although it definitely was kind of a, slow burn at first. I'm sure some of that was the fear and anxiety I felt watching it, but it worked. It was so cool to see everyone, all these characters that we've already seen in a completely different setting here and with different personalities and type of behaviors and really emulating the ideals of that time in that society. And I thought that piece of it was really, really cool. And it made it all the more shocking when certain things happen to certain characters because, we've seen certain characters die and then survive in the last two films. And you assume, like, oh, okay, nothing's going to happen to certain people this time around. So when it does, it's like, like, who's safe? You really don't know. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the cons. This definitely gave me a lot that I appreciated, but there still were a couple of things that were off. It was kind of awkward to watch because we were watching these characters in these costumes depicting this time, and some of it just felt a little bizarre. And what really added to the whole bizarre, awkward feeling of it all, those accents, those accents, those accents. I get what we were trying to do here. We've had immigrants from different parts of the world that came to America, and Ireland was one of those places. So I get that we're trying to incorporate that, and we are trying to establish that this is just a very different world from the first two that we've seen. This is a completely different time. This is a completely different setting, and even the way people spoke back then, it was different. Whether it was Irish accents or, whatever kind of accent that they were speaking at the time. However, if you're going to do that, the accents have to be on point. And were they? Absolutely not. It's just like, we just got to call a spade a spade. They were going in and out. It was kind of cringy. It was kind of awkward. And I still give the actors kudos because that's not easy. I'm not going to act like I could successfully maintain that kind of accent, especially when that's not how I speak from day to day. But it just took me out of it in certain moments, not the entire time, but there were certain moments where I was very aware, okay, these are accents and we're trying to act with these accents, and it's not quite giving what you guys wanted to give. I also enjoyed Darrell Britt-Gibson as Martin. I thought he was really funny, and I was actually kind of sad that we didn't get more of him before the third installment. It would have been nice to have seen him before the film was basically over. And although I did appreciate the darker tone of the third film, I think that for some people it'll be just kind of a random shift and completely dropping the nostalgia and the quirkiness and a lot of the themes that made the first two films great. I didn't mind it, but I can see that for some people it's almost taking itself too seriously, and it's maybe too much of a departure from the first two. So I'm going to go ahead and give Fear Street Part 3, 1666 a B. I have to admit, my faith in this experience after watching the first two was somewhat diminished by the time we got to the third. But I have to say that this was definitely the best installment of the trilogy and a great finale to the trilogy as well. And I also like that at the end we had a little hint of something potentially coming in the future, which I would really like to see. I will say that although I wanted more from this as a whole, I still appreciate the fact that it was made. I still enjoyed the experience, and I'm really excited to see what more could come out of this. I was kind of on the first two, but I still will say that each film, more or less, had something that I still enjoyed and very much appreciated. And since I am, of course, a Fear Street fanatic, I would really love to see other books being adapted. I would totally be here for that. We have the Cheerleader saga, we have the Fear Street sagas, we have all these super chillers that we can adapt and make stories out of. I'm all in. I would definitely be down to watch that. And overall, I am just so happy and excited that R.L. Stine, that his name is in the zeitgeist of 2021 and in current pop culture. The fact that his books and his contribution to children's literature and the horror genre as a whole, I'm glad that more people are seeing that his work is being acknowledged, not just by me, but by others, and that it's being appreciated all over again. It's really something to have had that experience with him as a writer when I was 4 and 5, and then to be in my 30s and still see the name R.L. Stine going around and seeing people speaking of him and his work, and I just think that is so, so awesome. So I can't wait for more projects, more adaptations, and if nothing else, I will absolutely be revisiting my Goosebumps and Fear Street collection because you already know, they're still sitting somewhere on a bookshelf. I'm going to go and find them and just immerse myself in that world all over again and just have that nostalgia and that excitement and that feeling. I just want to bring that all back again. Like I've said before, I appreciate those books so much. I know what they mean to me, and I hope that as we go on, more people will understand that and be able to feel that as well. Whether in books or in movies or TV shows, regardless of the medium, I'm so happy for more people to be able to experience R.L. Stine. Fear Street Part 3, 1666, as well as the entire Fear Street trilogy, is currently streaming exclusively on Netflix. You guys feel free to check it out, leave your thoughts below, and let me know what you think. So, once again, this is D, Movie Man, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.